Okay, welcome back to another episode of Carl's Scale Model Showcase. On the viewing table today, we have one of the most iconic, most ultimate exhibition drag cars ever built, in my opinion. The classic 1966 Olds 442, done up as the Hurst Hairy Oldsmobile. This is a kit from Monogram. This first came out in the 60s as well, and in the real drag racing world, they actually had two of these cars, a 66 and a 67. But Monogram had released this model in 124 scale many times over the years. I don't have an original issue, but this one I built from a re-release from, I think it was the early 90s. So it's not a very difficult kit to build. The hood doesn't open, the trunk doesn't open. You can't really see a lot of detail on the engines and whatnot. But the thing about it is that, for me anyways, being a GM fan, this thing, if you know anything about it or have read up on it, or maybe you were one of the very few fortunate people left on this planet who might have actually witnessed it run, which was a rarity in itself, this car was just plain badass. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. We've got that 66 442 body, and that's about all there was from Oldsmobile, other than the 425 cubic inch engines, one being in the front, and again, one being in the back. They had the transaxle system out of the Tornados, all engineered in there. So basically, once they built up those 425 cube engines and, probably bored them out a little bit, maybe even stroked them, who knows, they bolt on a blower, and they say that these things were making well over 2,000 horsepower. So 2,000 plus horsepower in the front end, 2,000 horsepower in the back end, all-wheel drive. And to see pictures of this thing was just incredible. I'm going to insert one right here. I'm going to insert a couple, actually. I mean, those pictures give you an idea of just how jaw-dropping this thing would have been to watch, let alone drive. And we'll get into that in a few minutes here. But as you can clearly see from the pictures, the torque steer on it was ridiculous. If this thing actually made a full pass, a straight full pass down to 1320, by the time he turned on the wind lights, he would have been well into the nines at speeds of around 150, 160 miles an hour. And the guy that drove this car, Joe Schubeck, I believe I'm pronouncing it right, they called him Gentleman Joe. And I mean, the history on this, it's just, you don't get stuff like this today anymore. This guy would get flown in with a helicopter, and the gorgeous, iconic Linda Vaughn, Mrs. Hurst. This woman would meet him, and Joe Schubeck would get out of the chopper in a full tuxedo and a big top hat and a whole 9 yards. And Linda Vaughn would be there in an evening gown. I think she showed up on one of the Hurst Olds promotional cars where she used to ride on the back and stand up and hang on to that onto that Hurst shifter. And she would get down and greet him, and they'd have a little smooch, and it was just this big spectacle. And to be there would have been amazing. I get a little emotional thinking about it because I wasn't even born yet, and I would give my right arm to go back and witness even one of those afternoons where it was just incredible. And then incidentally, Joe Schubeck, so in my 65 Biscayne, I ran a Lakewood scatter shield bell housing. Now Lakewood, a lot of you guys probably heard, or people have heard, Lakewood Industries makes a lot of aftermarket speed parts. The slapper bars, the yellow ones you bolt on for the leaf spring suspensions and stuff to avoid wheel hop, and a whole bunch of other products and whatnot. Joe Schubeck went on to, I think he started that company, or he was one of the partners who started that company. Linda Vaughn, she was Miss Hurst for forever and a day. She attended car shows right up into the, I think just as a matter of fact, a few years ago. I haven't really kept up on her history and what she's been up to. But anyways, she was just, all these people were just amazing. They were amazing people. And the guy behind all of this, George Hurst. Now, I've got Hurst t-shirts. I mean, that was the first decal we wanted to slap on anything was Hurst. It just sounds mean, just Hurst. But this is the guy's actual last name. And short little story here. I'm just going to kind of move the car in for a little bit of a different view. There we go. Short little story is I was working on a crane job one time, and I was lowering guys in and out of a hole. They were doing some tunneling work underground for drainage systems. And the firemen that were doing, actually firemen showed up, pardon me, and they wanted to know if between when we had some downtime that they could use the vertical shaft to do some practice for their high angle rescue and tie on all their gear and do some scaling down and on the walls and stuff like that. And so regardless, the boss said it was okay, and they went ahead and did that. And I got out of the crane, nice summer day, and I'm talking with some of the firemen. I'm talking to the fire chief, it's kind of cool. And we got onto the topic of the jaws of life. And I said, I bet you that your tool, your hydraulic life-saving tool, the jaws of life, I bet you it says Hurst on it. And the fireman goes, how did you know that? And I'm like, because it was a drag racer who invented that tool, and his name, the man, was George Hurst. And anybody that knows the history of that knows it's a true story. I mean, there was all kinds of safety concerns, drag racing back in the 60s and stuff. This particular car here, this Hurst Olds, the Hairy Olds, it crashed more than one time, like many times it crashed. Thank God nobody was seriously hurt. And it only ran, I think, for 2 seasons, and then they kiboshed it. They said, no, we can't do this. And so anyway, I explained the whole Hurst history to this firefighter, and I said this guy Hurst George invented this tool to help save drag racers who crashed and get them out of the car if they had to cut the roof off or cut a door open, or it's pretty cool history. I mean, I love my automotive, my motorsports history. George Hurst, Mickey Thompson, Bill Jenkins, the list goes on. Just so much respect and admiration for these motorsports heroes of mine, and this is why I built this car. So, and getting back to what I'm just gonna maybe try a different shot. There we go. Getting back to what I was saying about Gentleman Joe driving this thing. Let's see, we got a little bit better light here today. I do apologize. We're still working on the camera stuff. So inside there, you can see two white knobs. There's two shifters. Now behind there in black, I don't know, you can kind of see the stick sticking up in that angle, I think, right there. I believe those were the brakes, and then there was two throttle pedals, I think, or those were the throttles and there was two brake pedals. Either or, this guy basically had to drive two cars at once. And I think in one of the interviews I was reading, he said that he would shift, or pardon me, he would kind of like driving a track machine, you know, like a Bobcat or anything with tracks. He would brake on one side of the car, and it would allow the car to pull to the other side and kind of steer the car like that, along with the steering wheel. But you know, there's interviews with the with Joe back in the day, and he said driving this thing was just, you had to have your head examined basically. And everybody was very grateful when they did it. And when the flyers went out, and the you know, there was no obviously media like we have today and stuff, but when you looked on a telephone pole or a lamp post and you saw the flyer and it said, hey, this weekend only, the Hurst Hairy Olds is coming to town, it was sold out. Just bang, just you couldn't, you standing room only. People be peering over the fences and stuff, getting up on campers outside the compound and trying to get a glimpse of this thing. And the sound, can you imagine? It would have just rattled your teeth out, man. It would have just shook you to your rib cage as this thing just let loose and ripped on her. And I'm gonna put a couple more pictures in there now. And just, you know, just take that in for a minute. I mean, if you're a motorsports fan, I could go on and on. It's just amazing. I'm gonna show you just what the bottom looks like here. We've started to go with this format where we try not to move the camera too much and just kind of flip the model over or whatever. I mean, she'll, you know, she's not that fragile. She'll sit on her side like that. It's a basic model, right? There's the transaxles, the bottom of the engines. I did up the pipes in white, the classic white, sanded down the slicks. Basically a flat floor. Obviously, no drive shaft. It would have been like traction motors on a locomotive. You would have just had immediate power to all four wheels, and then throw some kind of steering knuckle mechanism in the front end there. And there was no pauses. It was in limited slip. It was just immediate power. So. But anyways, put her back on her wheels and get one more view out of it here. Once again, I just want to say that I'm very grateful and I sincerely appreciate all the compliments, all the likes, all the subscribers, all of you YouTubers that decide to spend 5 or 10 minutes watching my videos, in some cases a little bit longer with the big rigs. And I realize that this is a big rig channel. You know, I get it. This is my main focus is semi trucks, and that's what I love the most. But I also love hot rodding. I love muscle cars. And just because I'm a GM guy doesn't mean, you know, I turn my nose up at a nice looking Mustang or a nice looking Dodge Charger. I like something from every camp. Every camp's got its good stuff and its bad stuff. But I mean, I just so happen to be partial to the GM stuff. And I love my 70 Trans Am and I love my 65 Biscayne. And, you know, that's just how it is. So like I said, I'm fortunate to be able to build the real stuff. I love building the models. And for the interim, while I'm away working in beautiful British Columbia, I'm trying to update as much as I can because I'm pretty busy with the work right now. So it's hard for me to. I'm still working on the livestock trailer for the Kenworth. We're gonna get that done, and I just want to keep everybody, give them something so they keep coming back. I certainly don't want to lose my viewership. And I don't know, let me know in the comments if you feel like it. Let me know if you are interested in some GoPro action. I mean, you know, we're working in one of the most treacherous mountain passes in the world, the Coquihalla Highway. We're working in the bush back there, so I mean, I can throw the GoPro on the dash of the truck and get some action going. You know, just some filler material until I can get a couple of more models built. If you guys are interested in seeing some real live trucking, hey, let me know and we can throw it out there. If not, you know, we'll just keep trying to do some updates with some models and, you know, mostly semis, but definitely some hot rod and action in there as well. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out my other channel if you're interested, Cat Performance Group. That's Cat with a K. And keep on building those models.